Hey everyone, my name is Matthew,
I'm Lauren Grublaw.
and we are here to sort of dig into this Lenten practice called repenting of racism for Lent. We want to thank our brother Andre Henry for sort of posing this question. Hey, white people, hey, my white brothers and sisters, are you willing to take this work on of teaching other white folks why systemic racism and overt racism and all kinds of ways of racial injustice are a problem? Are you willing to take that on and not require me to keep explaining and people like myself to keep explaining? So we took it on, and we are here engaging in this ourselves and inviting you all into the space of contemplation and prayer and dialogue and discussion and hopefully some new practices and action.
So this week we had the chance to look at a theme of prayer from Ash Wednesday until today. And we're going to be going through a number of other themes over the next 6 weeks. Some of them are politics and power, communication, economics. And as we move through each of the themes, there's opportunities to engage in habits of contemplation and habits of action that hopefully will be opportunities to both engage within ourselves in dismantling the white supremacy that exists within us, and also being able to turn outwards and say, what are some practical responses that I can have to the world that I live in terms of the things that I do or the things I ought to refrain from doing, in terms of perpetuating systems of oppression, specifically the systems of racism that inhabit this world that we live in, and specifically this nation. So the question that everyone's invited to engage with us in asking this week is, what is one behavior that you can tangibly change based on your experiences over the last few days of practicing these habits? So Matthew, I'm curious about what your experiences were these last couple of days.
Yeah, so it's been really, I talk about dismantling righteousness all the time, and so it's become kind of like sort of second nature to me. But it was really awesome to be able to be asked to, in community, do this again, because what's real is that it's a lifelong practice. This is not like a 1-day lesson or even a 40-day lesson. This is learning new habits and learning new perspectives. And the video that was posted this week, showing Jen Hatmaker with her kids, and she's white, she has 3 white biological children and then 2 adopted African American children. And she is talking about the part where her daughter, the day that we put the video, where her daughter says, like, why do white people think they're so much better than us? I was in a group of people in the fellowship I'm in, called Challenge Detroit, and we were talking about how there's a black woman in the group, and she was talking about the day that Obama got reelected. She had this white friend that she worked with at a restaurant, and they were really tight. They were really good friends. And then the day Obama wins, she's like, oh my God, I didn't realize how much she hated black people, right? Because it came out. And that was just so interesting to hear that, like, being said in different ways. Like, why do white people think they're so much better than us? So my practice this week I've been really reflecting on what happens when I ask people, like, how they're doing. I live in a mostly black neighborhood here in Detroit. And when I ask black folks how they're doing, they often say, I can't complain. I can't complain. And I'm always thinking, like, wow, I have so much to complain about. Winter's hard. It's cold and icy. I moved from California and it's hard here. But it struck me about one person opened up and said, no, there's a lot to complain about. I'm just choosing not to complain. And what happens when you start living in community with people, you start to hear that there's the fronts people put up of, like, a white person might just be like, I'm fine. It's sort of like a similar kind of like dismissive, I don't really want to get into it. But I like the idea of can't complain, because what it's really saying is, like, I have stuff to complain about. I'm not going to complain, because there's a lot of joy, there's a lot of good things going on, and I want to keep moving in that direction. So that's been something that's been challenging me this week, is how has my privilege or my expectations need to be challenged as I live in community with people that may not have had as many privileges as I've had.
Sure. Is
So,
there a behavior then that you are hoping to adopt because of that experience that you've had?
I think I'm hoping to adopt a willingness to gently dig a little deeper, but also to allow the lack of complaint to be the basis of a conversation. Let's talk about things that we're celebrating and joyful about. That it doesn't need to always be heavy. Like, we can find some places of life is hard, but we have a lot to be grateful of, and there's a lot of that spirit in this community. And what about you, Lauren? What has this week been like for you, and where do you see a new something new emerging?
Thanks. I have been really grateful this week, like you mentioned, to be able to do this work in community, because specifically with the events of this week, with the shooting in Florida, I often have been rendered completely overwhelmed with those experiences and the grief that hits and the numbness that follows. And it's been helpful for me this week to have tangible things to do. And right now we're starting with contemplative practices. There's going to be other actions that we'll be taking, and I look forward to those too. I think I found it really helpful to be able to say, here's one thing that I can do today. And I think I have the luxury of being very reactionary. I don't think everyone has that luxury. When it's a matter of life or death, being in an oppressive system is a matter of life or death for you. And that's true for people of color, that you have to be strategic about your response. And my response tends to be when there are crazy things happening in the world, or when I realize within myself how much racism exists within me, my tendency can be to feel totally overwhelmed. And my social media response is posting all the articles that I can find. Which is not to say that I haven't done that this week, because I totally did.
And now we get to do it in a way that we've said, like, we're going to do it for 40 days, right?
Well, and it's concrete, and it's tangible, and it's saying here's the things every day that we're going to talk about. So I think for me, engaging in these actions this week and these habits this week has been, for me, a reminder of the importance of choosing well and wisely where my energy goes, where my activity lies, because the reality is that my energy is limited, my time is limited, but I can do something, and I can do something well. And so if I'm going to engage in this work in myself, okay, what is one thing I can do every day? So I've appreciated, in particular, being able to pray the prayer today, and to know that not only am I praying this prayer, but a whole community is praying this with me. And that's shaping not only me, but hopefully shaping us. I think that the lack of isolation has helped that to be an easier thing to engage. And I hope, in terms of behavior, I hope that I can continue for these 40 days and beyond to say every day, what is one thing? What is one concrete thing? Which is the challenge we got from Andre. Like, what is one concrete thing I can do every single day to debunk the myth of white supremacy within myself and within the community and within the world? And that's less daunting than how do I fix this huge problem, because I can't, and I certainly can't do that alone. I need community. I need to be for the sake of hope, for the sake of joy, the joy that you're describing. And I've experienced delight, which that surprised me. In building this experience with our team, and in also seeing how people have begun to engage with it on the Facebook group. I've been encouraged, because there's a real energy and even delight that undergirds that, and I find that immensely helpful.
Amen. Yeah, I think we want to just encourage you all, if this is a starting point for you, this is heavy, and it ought to be heavy. But there is joy in this walk, and it is about finding, like, reality. And you're probably here because you sense that something is wrong, but you don't know where to start. And what we're hopefully encouraging you all and prayerfully encouraging is that start where you're at and start somewhere. Pick these one things. What one thing can you do? You're not going to dismantle a system overnight. This has been hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years in the making. But we're not going to do anything by just like being nice to each other. We have to think deeply about this. And so we're really, really thankful that you're thinking deeply, Lauren. And please spread this around, pass it on. Come back. We have 35 more days.
I would add to that we're praying with you.
We're praying with you.
I just want to be so emphatic about how important it is to do this work together and to be praying together. And I'm grateful for this space. And so we, like Matt said, we invite your dialogue in the coming days on this Facebook page. And we also invite you to continue bringing your friends and family into these conversations and having hard conversations with people that you love, because that's the only way that things are going to change is by relationship, because we genuinely love each other enough to say, I'm not going to let you stay in this place of spiritual suffering.
Yeah. So thanks everyone. And we welcome your feedback and hope that or pray that you have conversations like this today and throughout this journey.